Hello, this is Tony Wright again, First Love Christian Church, or FLCC, and AB Wright Ministries. This is the 90-day Bible study. We're in day 24. We're in 2 Samuel, 22nd chapter, 19th verse. We'll be going through 1 Kings 7th chapter and the 37th verse. Well, remember, David had gotten the word that his son Absalom, that had tried to take over rule of the country, was dead. Now, he had actually been killed by Joab, who was David's captain of the host, although David was unaware of that at this time. But David was able to, work through this, and after a little skirmish, he was reinstalled as king of all of Israel. And as we enter today's reading, David sings praise for the many things that God has brought him and his country through. Now, he's grateful, for God's steadfastness, and he's grateful for God continuing to be their rock and their shield. But David points out that when God places anyone in a position to rule over others, that they must be just and they must do so in fear of God. And was that an awe-inspiring list of mighty men or what? Boy, there were valiant men of God that put themselves in the line of fire for their leader, for the principles of God, and for trying to keep a nation of often rebellious people in alignment with God's law. Now, David had grown old, with age, and had gotten to the point where he was always cold. Even when they put heavy clothes and blankets on this dude, he was still cold. So his servants came up with a plan. They decided that they needed to get a young maiden that could lay with him to keep him warm. What? These people right here. What happened to fire? I mean, they burn whole animals. They burn entire cities down. But you need a young woman to lay with this old dude? Yeah, right. Okay, boy, hey. But they found one, and she came, and she took care of it. But did you notice? Right. Nothing else happened. I'm just saying. But then, here comes a brother of Absalom. First, it was Absalom. Now here comes this dude, and he starts gathering horses and chariots and horsemen and bodyguards. Boy, help me. And David hasn't said anything to him. And then he sought advice from Joab and Abiathar, and they helped him. So now this dude has David's top general, Joab, the captain of the host, and one of his top priests, Abiathar. Now, these guys would put together these huge feasts and gatherings, and they called all the men in Judah, but they made sure not to call anyone that was still loyal to King David. But Nathan the prophet, he knew what was going on. And he went to Bathsheba and told her that she needs to go to David and tell him that he told her that Solomon was going to reign after him. But now Adonijah is being positioned to reign. So Bathsheba, she went to David and told him that. And she told him that all the eyes of Israel are on him and waiting to see who would be on the throne. And if he doesn't take care of her and Solomon now, if he passes Adonijah, he's going to cut them off. Now, after she left, Nathan came in. And he asked David if he had said that Adonijah would reign after him. That just today, Adonijah had slaughtered animals and invited all the king's sons and captain of the hosts and the priests, and everyone is saying, God save King Adonijah. But none of them were invited. And he asked King David, he said, are you doing this and keeping it from us? Well, when David heard this, he was reminded of his oath for Solomon. So King David, he called for Bathsheba and told her that he would certainly keep his word, that Solomon would reign after him. And that he would do that the same day. So David called Nathan and Zadok and Benaiah, and he told him to get Solomon on his mule and bring him down to Gihon. And there he was going to be anointed as king over Israel. So then Solomon is to come there and sit on the throne and replace David as ruler of Israel and Judah. So they did just as David said. Boy, when Adonijah heard that news, That stopped the feast. And when Joab heard the trumpet sound, he asked, what was that? Well, about that time, Jonathan comes in and tells them that David has made Solomon king. And Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah had gone to ride him back on the mule where he would sit on the throne. And David has, said, blessed be the Lord for giving us someone to sit on this throne and allow me to see it. Oh my goodness. Did you see what happened there when he came in and said that? Boy, everybody remembered that they had somewhere to go, something to do. They left so quick. It was like they had left a pot on the stove or something. Are you kidding me? They left Mr. King for a day by him lonely self. You hear me? I don't know. But I'm thinking that Mr. Adonijah is thinking he might have, gotten a little ahead of the parade. You know what I mean? Whew. So he ran over, to the sacred tent and he grabbed onto those horns on the altar, right? And he felt like he needed some protection right now. Boy, right now the only music that he's hearing is standing on shaky ground. So he said that he wants some assurance that Solomon is not going to kill him. Well, Solomon sent word that as long as he shows himself a worthy man, no one would touch a hair on his head. But if he shows wickedness, he will surely die. Listen, I'm not a betting man, But if you look at the record here, this is just not looking promising for Mr. Adonijah. You know what I mean? Be worthy, don't do evil. What? Anyway, so they got him, took him to Solomon. He came in and bowed to Solomon. Solomon told him, to go to his house. Now, David was about to die. And he told Solomon that he needs to be careful to make sure to be strong and show himself a man. So he's to keep charge, of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways and to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies. And if he does this, that he would prosper in all of his ways and in whatsoever he does. So then David pointed out that, to Solomon, those that he should be watchful of and those he should continue to care after. So after David's death, he was buried there in the city of David, after he had reigned for 40 years. So now Adonijah went to Bathsheba and he said, I have a favor to ask. She said, go ahead. He said, well, you know that the kingdom was mine, right? And all the people were looking to me to be their leader, but everything has changed now, and now it's my brother because, the Lord had chosen him and everything. But there's only one thing that I want. And if you go to Solomon, he won't say no to you. So please go ask him for me. So she asked him, what is it? And he said, please speak to him and tell him to give me about Abishag, the Shunammite, to be my wife. Okay, that's it. You know who this is, right? The electric blanket that they got for King David to keep him warm. Help me, somebody. What is this dude thinking? Okay, but she went in and she spoke to Solomon. And he asked her, why are you asking that I give Abishag for Adonijah? Why not the whole kingdom too? He is the older brother. And while I'm at it, why not the chief priest and the captain of the host? I'll give him all of this as if Adonijah didn't send you in here to ask this mess. And just as sure as the Lord has established that I sit on this throne, Adonijah will die today. Oh my goodness. This right here, somebody is all business here. You hear me? So I guess after he got set off, he told Abiathar the priest that was over, at the big coronation party at Adonijah's place to get out of town and to go to Anathoth, and that he really should be put to death. Then Joab got word And he ran to the tent. Boy, these dudes right here, we might need a bigger tent. So he's down holding on to the horns at the altar. And Benaiah went to him and told him that the king wanted to see him. What? That's he's in the tent. That's why he's in the tent in the first place, because the king wanted to see him. Good luck with that. Now Joab said, nope, if I die, I'm dying right here. When Benaiah went back and told King Solomon that, King Solomon said, as he wishes. So Benaiah went back, hit him with the sword, you know. Then Solomon called Shimei, you know, the dude that talked all that smack when David was on the run from Absalom, that David had forgiven, and told him to build a house in Jerusalem. Solomon told him, build a house in Jerusalem and stay there. And he's not to leave Jerusalem for any reason. Now, if he goes out and passes over Brook Kidron, that he will surely die. And Shimei said that what the king said was good, and what the king said that he would do. So he did. He lived there for like 3 years. Then 2 of his servants ran away to Gath. So when Shimei found out where they were, he went and he got them. And when Solomon found out that Shimei, he had Shimei brought in when he found out Shimei left. He said, didn't you agree not to leave Jerusalem? And didn't I tell you that if you did, to know for sure that you were going to die? And you said the word was good. So why have you broken your oath? And do you remember how you treated my dad, King David, so disrespectful? Well, let's just say that Shimei got a new sword. You know, boy, there's a new king in town, buddy. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit here. So Solomon, he made a treaty with Egypt and the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh gave Solomon one of his daughters as a wife. So now Solomon prayed for wisdom, and the Lord told him that since he asked for wisdom to help him rule the people rather than ask for many other things, that he would grant him great wisdom and great understanding and a great understanding heart, right? So shortly after that, two women came in with a child, right? And both of them were claiming to be the child's mother. You know this one, right? Well, his decision showed the people the 2 things that God had promised them: wisdom and an understanding heart. So the next undertaking was to initiate building the temple. And he got assistance from Hiram, the king of Tyre, because Hiram had a great love for David. And he sent Solomon cedar and fir trees, and Solomon sent them wheat and oil. Boy, it boggles my mind just reading what went into this structure. Can you imagine whoever, had taken the notes that you're reading in the Bible or wrote down the original specs for this structure, and the number of gold items that were, molded as full molded pieces, and the wooden pieces that were fit together without hammer and nail? Boy, this was a structure. You hear me? Now, it took them 7 years to build this temple. And then it took 13 years to build Solomon's house. Oh my goodness. Check out the detail that went into that temple. Speaking of checking out, we're checking out of here for now. But you keep reading the word, and you get at least 3 other people, that will benefit from this journey, and have them join in with us. And then you keep checking us out on your favorite social media platform. And by all means, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. FLCC, we're on the move, brothers and sisters. We're taking ministry back to the first love. Peace.